So today we are talking Gravity. We're hanging out with Chris from Why Would You Eat That on the Tasted channel. We both saw it and loved it.
I have not seen the film, but I have selective hearing and a really bad memory, so let's do it.
It's true. So, before we left for the weekend, you got me super psyched about just the tech aspect of this movie. It's so visually stimulating. I was blown away the entire time.
It's true. Something like this has never actually been shot or whatever. Usually you're like, oh, I love that shot in Goodfellas where they push in or they dolly in. There's no dolly, there's no tripod or still shot in this. It's like a floating camera. And you're like the fourth astronaut. At some point, I won't ruin it or anything like that, but you go into a POV of this astronaut that's floating and suspended, and it's kind of like a first-person shooter, except it's like in IMAX and it's real. I mean, it's the realest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how they did that.
In order to shoot someone at zero gravity, that doesn't exist, and with like cords, like puppeteering cords, there's strain and it doesn't move the same way. So how they did it is they made a room, a 360-degree room of LED lights that projected the universe. The Earth's down here, the sun's down here, and here's part of the exploded, ship or whatever.
Right.
And when she's like rotating on her axis or whatever, they projected all that so you see it in her glass, you see the shadows change, it's all in that environment, and they kept her on like a gyro. And then they removed the braces of the gyro frame by frame.
It's literally, you see her spinning and it's like she's completely suspended in air. And that POV shot, you do actually go into a helmet and you feel like you are an astronaut. Obviously there's no oxygen, so I literally looked internally and realized that I had stopped breathing.
Yeah.
You feel so much a part of the movie, especially. I mean, you saw it in IMAX, and I saw it 3D, and
3D
I mean,
IMAX.
it's like you're literally right here, and you are experiencing it along with Sandra Bullock and George Clooney. That was the most incredible part for me. I've never seen anything like it.
There is no fourth wall that it breaks. It's like a fourth person that you become, and one of the things is it starts out with this 13-minute uncut shot that has no, because the camera's, imagine the camera floating out in there. It goes around them as they're on the outside of the ship.
Right.
And you can't hear anything except what's in their helmets. So like if you see a wreck, if you see something happen in the background, you can't hear it, you just hear them. And so one of the aspects of that shot, that was the last shot they finished.
Oh, really?
Because it was 13 minutes in length or whatever, and it took like 6 months. And I guess the ironic reward of it is you don't realize it, because it did exactly what it was supposed to do. You're in the film, you don't realize that they haven't cut.
Yeah.
You don't realize that, and then you have your own helmet.
You're not watching a film. You're experiencing it. You're part of it.
So many of my favorite films are just those like that, where you're not aware that you're actually watching the film.
Exactly.
You get totally absorbed into it and lost in it. I was reading a little bit about some of the sound that in certain theaters, there's this Dolby Atmos. Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
It's almost like specific sound that they can place in the theater, which I really want to experience that.
Yeah, like when they were recording some of the helmet audio, you hear Houston, you hear a person inside of the command center, and then let's say I'm not ruining anything, but he's drilling a bolt into the side of this ship that he's like maintaining. So Houston's over here in his left, so they recorded Ed Harris on a left speaker channel. That's it. And then you hear this other person inside the shuttle. You hear him on the right. And then underwater, because the only sound that you would hear is not on the outside of his helmet, but inside what you would hear coming through.
Like vibrating through your suit.
So they recorded him drilling a bolt underwater. Not Clooney, but someone.
Yeah.
Drilling that bolt or dinging into the ship, because that's the closest you would get to hearing that drowned out sound, is it coming in through your suit.
Oh my God.
It's almost like you're at like Disneyland and you're in one of those rides that like the simulator rides.
It is.
You're that
It's simulation.
present. It's incredible.
It seems like there's also so many formats you can see this film in. What do you guys recommend? What do you think?
Okay, so I saw it in 3D IMAX, and I was worried that I was going to be like, because I don't really care about the 3D. I mean, like I don't necessarily need stuff coming at me.
Right.
I don't go
But
see
if you
Pixar
use it
stuff.
well, it's incredible.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and this wasn't overbearing, which was the thing about it. It wasn't like, whoa, you know,
Right,
it's like way
right.
out in front of you. It's just subtle enough, and you're already in the vacuum of space, so it's already terrifying. I completely shut down everyone around me, so.
So I really haven't done my homework on all of this film, even though we did an 8-bit music video about the film, which I'm hoping that my version is correct.
It's realistic, just in the
close?
same way. It looks. That's kind of what space looks like. It does. It's made out of squares.
It does kind of. Definitely check out our music video in the description below.
Is there kind of a Life of Pi aspect of this film where they're kind of lost in? Is it similar to that? Does it go as fantastical as
No,
that?
no,
No,
no.
not
Okay.
at all. It's so realistic.
It's yeah.
It's just
It-
all about
unbelievable.
the
There's no
realism.
allegory in it, like with Life of Pi. It's
Yeah.
like, what do I do while I'm here? You know, because the thing with Life of Pi is, he's still on an ocean. Oceans have shores.
Sure.
He's going
There's food,
towards.
there's oxygen,
Yeah,
there's-
he's going towards something.
Right.
And like it's hard to express like the void of space, and just like I said, there's like no up, there's no down. He's not going in any direction. So like you don't really have the time for her to sit and float and create something to waste her time. She's either, I have like an hour to get back home, or I'm gonna die. So it's go go go. It's you get a breath once in a while, and then it's, oh shit, there's another problem. The closest film I can kind of grasp with it is The Abyss, where it's get home safely. There's not like a whodunit. There's not like necessarily a lot of mystery, but it's a problem after a problem after a problem that you have to solve, and it's not like in the physical realm where all the rules apply. Like, oh, run over there. I mean, as simplest as getting from here to the space hubble over there is the most impossible feat. And so it's just like, get home. That's the entire film.
I actually had like a Fight Club moment in it where it's like that scene where it's like, go home tomorrow and be on your way to becoming a biologist. Yeah, with the gun to your head, like go and make your dreams come true. Otherwise your life is just gonna pass you by. I mean, I feel like that's a big message in this movie. I had an issue with just the storyline in general. I mean, I think it was gorgeous. I think it was a beautifully, artistically crafted movie, but as a film, I felt like it was lacking. And I have the same issue with Children of Men. I feel like it's so beautiful, and that kind of
aesthetic and
takes over.
style. I think one of the things that's difficult about a film like this is when you're dealing with so few of characters in an environment that's about being stranded. You don't, like, exposition doesn't really necessarily happen. You don't have many chances for exposition. You don't have, God forbid you ever use a flashback or something like that. But like, it's so realistic in the film, in the process of it, when she's like taking her time to get to here and do this. There's no reason why she would comment on, I really miss him, or I got to get back for this guy.
I almost feel like they
tried
tried too much to put in this connection between the two characters. Like, it was so shallow that it was like, let me hear about your family, as if I've never heard about them before. I've never spoken to you before.
On the spacewalk, okay.
Yeah. I just felt like there was just a lack of development there, and I didn't need that story to be there.
Yeah.
I was fine with the visual. I feel like that little bit of we're gonna have a conversation now as if we've never had a conversation before.
Okay.
Took me out of it.
It's just problem after problem, and there's a lot of times where she almost like they give up.
Yeah.
They're like, let's just accept this. Let's just go with this. I know we've come farther than we initially started, but let's just give up. And so like, you need some sort of like anchor or reason for not doing that she has to, or he has to like debate in their head.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It was either more or less. I mean, I feel like there could have been a whole half an hour at the beginning of the movie to like set up the relationship, set up how they got there, set up all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just from a cinematic experience of this is the general construct of the film.
The first opening shot, that 13-minute long shot, it starts with this immense sound of the titles, and then there's just nothing that you hear for a long time. And like it's almost like eerily quiet. You hear like the rustling of someone's pen, and then some popcorn, and then everyone's like gets kind of uncomfortable, and they're like, what's going
like,
on?
don't move.
And then like you hear like the faint beacon of someone talking, which is Houston. And I think like I couldn't imagine starting it with like exposition or inside of anything. Like you're out in space, you stay out in space.
It's really interesting too because it is actually a pretty slow moving film because I mean nothing really happens, but I did not get bored for a second.
No.
I mean you're literally sitting there in darkness staring at stars, and it's just so beautiful that I could sit there for another 4 hours.
Problem like, oh, a cord getting stuck or a parachute cord getting stuck on the hull, that's a problem.
Yeah.
But that's a problem for 20 minutes because of the dynamics of it. When someone in space tries to push forward, their motion stops, they get pulled back, and they go way too far. But it all has to do with physics.
Right.
This movie is like physics. It's like, and like whenever they try to grab onto something, they go too far because anything in motion just keeps going.
Are there ticking clocks in the movie? Or, like I'm guessing they run out of oxygen. That's
the
one
movie
of the
is a
clocks.
clock.
And then is there debris that's coming around again?
Circulating
is that true?
around.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's orbiting, so they have to get out of there before the debris comes back around and destroys more. Oxygen is a huge. I mean, I'm terrified of like the idea of drowning.
I can't imagine. I mean, after seeing this
breathing.
movie, I could never. There's one point. This isn't a spoiler, but there's one point when he suggests that she sips air, and I'm literally in the audience going,
Yeah.
like practicing to see what it would be.
Yeah, and the engorgement of the film is you're in the helmet. The POV is in the helmet when you're doing it. That's why I'm in the theater like.
Holding my breath.
Yeah. Get to the hull. So the movie Abyss, there's a scene where Ed Harris has to make a trek to the. He's underwater and he's under a bunch of pressure and he has to hold his breath and swim, and he almost doesn't make it, in that eking of trying to swim up. That's the same feeling, and I haven't had that since.
This is making me sick just thinking about
it.
After looking on IMDb, it looks like just George Clooney and Sandra Bullock are the only people you see in the film. Is that true?
Yeah.
Or do
you hear Ed Harris's voice for a little while, and
there's
stuff
another
like that.
astronaut in the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
For a while too, there's only one of them, and then there's and it goes back and stuff like that. So like, they really stripped down the bones as far as just leaving you alone in nothing as a person, and then you got to figure your way out.
I read something about Sandra Bullock saying that she was so excited to shoot with George Clooney because it was just such a lonely place to be in.
Yeah.
She was just like all alone for so many hours on end, having to shoot this thing and be in the moment, and like just having somebody else on set was a huge deal for her.
Yeah.
There were a lot of actresses up for the role before her. Did you like her in that role?
I thought she did an incredible job. Apparently,
I
she
couldn't
trained,
imagine anyone else.
Me neither.
Yeah.
She trained for a year for it and then trained for 2 hours on set every day. And I mean, just to be able to hold the weight of that suit, because it was a full astronaut suit, so she has to do the typical training.
And be acrobated around on a gyroscope. It's a lot of...
And she looked amazing.
She looked the part, and she was worn and exhausted at the end, and she gets out of her suit for a while, and
She looks good.
So I'm definitely going to go see it, and I'm going to do a Men in Black thing and just like forget all about this conversation.
Gotcha.
This is one of the first films of fall, kind of getting into the award potential.
It's an interesting time for it.
Do you think is this movie up for some awards? You think?
Absolutely.
It seems like cinematography, maybe, or maybe acting.
Well, cinematography, of course.
Yeah.
But here's the thing about cinematography is, you're like, what is the cinematography in this? Because a lot of it, like, it has to do with the blending of special effects and stuff like that.
Certainly, we saw that with Life of Pi, where it won for cinematography and for special effects, if I remember correctly, and there was some controversy about that.
Yes. Everyone worked together on this, and they worked together for so long.
I think sound could also win. It was unbelievable.
Yeah. Sound, special effects, cinematography, Sandra Bullock especially.
Well, thanks so much for hanging out with us, Chris.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
From Why Would You Eat That on Tasted. Definitely go see this movie. I mean, this, again, isn't the first time you're hearing people say this. It's amazing.
It's
totally
amazing.
worth it. I would say IMAX 3D
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
definitely. And then go see it regular too. Go see it a couple times.
Yeah. So let us know what your favorite parts were in the comments below, and we'll see you guys next time.
Later.
Bye-bye.